mushrooms uniquely have this power to bring us home back to ourself, who
Mm,
we are as a spirit, and
mm.
really get in touch with ourself in a way that people often describe it. They're like, I feel like I'm almost done this before. Like in some ways it feels so
Oh,
novel
wow.
and new, but it's almost like a remembering sensation. Like I know how to do this. And this is just bringing me closer to myself.
Welcome to the Self-Care Goddess podcast, where healing stories, practical self-care strategies, and science-backed tools to regulate stress, feel calm, grounded, and energized come together to help you reclaim your vitality. I'm your host, Rita Savoya, holistic nutritionist, trauma-informed breathwork coach, and founder of Breathwork Barista. This podcast is for women who are ready to restore their energy and radiance, reconnect with their bodies, reawaken their inner power, and redefine self-care as a way of being. Through science meets soul practices, restorative mind-body tools, and real stories of transformation, we'll explore how true well-being can help you live with more joy, vibrant health, and authentic connection to yourself and those you love. Take a deep breath in, let it go, and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Self-Care Goddess podcast with today's theme, microdosing for health, healing, spiritual development, and personal empowerment. Something really of interest to me and very dear to my heart. And it's interesting how more guests are coming on to talk about this. So it's really in alignment with what I'm doing with breathwork as well. So I am so excited to have our guest here. But before we do that, as you know, let's settle into the space and just allow ourselves to decompress for just a couple of minutes here. So whether you're lowering your gaze or even closing your eyes to really tune out the outer world and tune in with your inner world, following your breath, flowing in and out of your body. If you feel called to, you can bring in some counting. So inhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then exhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue at your own pace, just allowing the inhales and the exhales to flow in a very circular motion in and out of your body. And now I invite you to channel the exhales in any particular area where you're feeling some tension, maybe stiffness, discomfort. Channel those beautiful exhales and just allow them to help you soften, relax, open up. Beautiful. Really feeling into these inhales, expanding, and then the exhales, contracting. Very nice. Let's channel the breath in the area of the heart, energizing this beautiful organ that's keeping you alive. And as you continue these heart-focused breaths, I invite you to visualize someone that you're grateful for today, living or past. Visualize this person as if they were right here in front of you and send them all the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation for always being there by your side. And now I invite you to turn the attention onto you and send that same love, that gratitude and appreciation to yourself for all that you do for yourself, for others, for your community. And on your next inhale, take a nice deep belly breath in, hold it for just a moment, and then let it go with a sigh. Ah. Slowly flutter your eyes open and welcome back. All right. So today we have Kayse Gehret here is one of the most highly regarded, sought after guides for the medicine of the moment, microdosing earth medicine practice. Founded in 2020 and grounded in a nearly 3-decade career in the healing arts, the Microdosing for Healing platform, program, and community has served over 900 diverse individuals around the globe. In addition to founding Microdosing for Healing and the Microdosing for Healing podcast, Kayse guides a microdosing mastermind for healing artists, an exclusive mastermind for wellness professionals, incorporating microdosing into their professional practices. Wow. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you today, Kayse?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Very excited to dive into this. But tell us a little bit more about your personal journey and what's influenced you to be in this for the past 3 decades.
Well, like a lot of guides, it was through my own personal experience and journey. So I had a lot of loss early on in my life. I lost my father as a child. And so I was really curious about psychology, healing, religion, spirituality early in life. And then in my teens, I developed a grand mal seizure disorder. And I had seizures throughout my 20s and went into the healing arts and wellness. I was a body worker for many years. So my practice is grounded in somatic therapies. And over the years, opened studios, kind of did all the things one can do as an individual in that field, and was adding different modalities to my practice when I met someone who introduced me to the idea of microdosing psychedelics, mushrooms in my case. And because of my seizures, I had always been wary of any kind of drug whatsoever. I was very like, this is not for me. My brain is so sensitive, but something pulled at me the idea that you could work with earth medicines and mushrooms and plant medicines at a very low subperceptual level. And I was like, that I can get behind and get into. And I wasn't sure what to expect, but it was immediately profound. I had enormous gifts of creativity, intuition, spiritual connection, and my seizures healed immediately. And I never had another. So I took, when my studios were closed in the pandemic in 2020, I had 4 healing arts studios and was living in California at the time. And we had to do something to bring healing to the world without touching people or gathering, which is what we did. So I put together a group program that I kind of wish I had when I first started microdosing, because it's such a unique and experience that's unlike anything else you've experienced. And so I put together a group framework and did pilot groups, and fast forward, we've had now hundreds and hundreds of people through that original program and seen incredible physical, mental, emotional healing and spiritual discovery through the process.
For sure. So when did you start the microdosing? When was that? Right after during the pandemic or right after?
It was thankfully before the pandemic. And looking back, and I'm so grateful, and I see this again and again and again in my clients, is so many people, the medicine calls them and finds them right when they need it the most. Like I didn't know I was about to lose everything. And little did I know, like I connected with the medicine and my life was about to change completely in every possible way. And so looking back, I moved through that time with such a different strength and resilience and grace because I had that practice with me through it. And subsequently, I see now everybody comes and it's divinely orchestrated. They can look back and go, if I had started a few years before, I wouldn't have been ready for it. A few years later, like my life was about to change. And this is why it came in when it did.
Isn't that beautiful? Such intelligence that we can't even comprehend. I love it. Okay, so yes, this is really exciting for me to be here and asking you some questions. I'm going to be a little selfish and ask some questions from my side too. But maybe let's start with, what is microdosing?
Yes, it's such a great question right now. So one of the things I love about it is it's new. Like the whole idea, people are like, what is it exactly? And so it's this blank canvas to define something that is very different than a pharmaceutical drug and a prescription. It's different. And so the word itself can mean so many things. For our intended purposes, like 4 or 5 years ago, it typically meant you were taking tiny subperceptual doses of usually LSD or psilocybin mushrooms. Now, fast forward a few years, people are using that term for all kinds of things. So it's basically taking tiny, tiny amounts of a plant earth medicine to receive the benefits of, say, a high dose experience, but more gentle, more subtle. And it's really wonderful for sensitive people who might not need or might not be ready for such a huge experience to start with.
Yeah, it's an easy way to transition if they're being called to experience a higher dose. So you say subperceptual. What does that mean?
It means that you're going to feel benefits and effects and notice things, but you're not going to feel trippy and altered and out of it. A lot of people have, especially the 80s kids. I was an 80s kid, right? And we grew up with all the stigma.
Yeah, so true.
And so people think
the war on
experience is going to
drugs.
be.
You remember that commercial? This is your brain on drugs, and it was an egg being cracked.
That was, yes, prime in our youth. Yes, our formative years. Yes. So a lot of people carry that worry and stigma with them, and they think the experience is going to be like getting drunk, or they think the experience is going to be like smoking pot, right? And they're going to feel altered. And with mushrooms, it's very different. You are more clear. You are so focused, so dialed in. You're more you than you are ever when you are regularly. So it's quite the opposite experience oftentimes people are expecting. And one thing people do feel right away is typically nervous system benefits really pop. So people just feel more clear, more focused, less brain fog, more articulate, better reflexes, just more dialed in. And your senses kind of come alive too. So your sense of taste, your sense of smell, nature catches your attention a new way. The light catches you in a new way. And so you are going to feel things and perceive things, but you're not trippy, if that makes sense.
So you can still function. It's not like you're going to go and just lay on a couch or wherever you decide to do it. Like it's still functioning. And so why is it so important for us to go back to that and start feeling more like ourselves and connecting more to maybe even the elements and just everyone around us? Why is that important in your opinion? Because we've lost that, right?
We've lost it. We've lost our connection to nature and the earth, and we've lost connection to ourselves, really. Like we're so conditioned in our society at this point. There's so many, as soon as we come out, that we've got a few years to be ourselves. And then we have the conditioning, our parents and school and our narratives that are passed down in our lineage. And so mushrooms uniquely have this power to bring us home back to ourselves, who we are as a spirit, and really get in touch with ourselves in a way that people often describe it. They're like, I feel like I've almost done this before. Like in some ways it feels so novel and new, but it's almost like a remembering sensation. Like I know how to do this. And this is just bringing me closer to myself. And that's like the Jedi skill of our time, is really to bring our energy home, to be home within ourselves and really learn to adapt to a changing world.
And build that resilience through these practices and modalities, which is, and it's amazing though. Isn't it exciting to be living in this time? I was just talking to someone about this as well. It's this higher consciousness that we're all building together through the assistance of these therapies and modalities. And it's just such a beautiful time to really be doing the work that we're doing. So I'm feeling so grateful and blessed. So very, as you said, timing, right? Can you tell us a little bit more? Let's geek out on the science. Why are mushrooms why are they so smart? Where is this intelligence coming from?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. In terms of the science, so if you think of the brain, kind of pathways through the brain, we are, especially in our modern time, we've become very rigid in our thinking and rote. And so a lot of the symptoms we have are actually due to the same thing, like that rigidity of thought.
Right. Which is a survival mechanism to build these right? These neural pathways, and just so that we don't have to think, we don't have to, there's so much energy that our brain can actually have. So this is a good way to conserve energy and so forth. So yes.
1000%. Yeah, there's parts of us that are still kind of running away from dinosaurs and the big lizards, right? That hasn't changed and
It's
evolved.
so true.
So it's really evolving. Mushrooms help us evolve our consciousness, evolve out of kind of that lizard brain, open up new neural pathways. And why it's so healing, like for mental health conditions, for example, like depression is largely due to kind of a calcified, rigid, looping, ruminating mind. Anxiety is a looping, ruminating mind, worried about the future, looping on the past. And so when we work with psilocybin uniquely works on the brain and opens up our default mode network to create new pathways. So suddenly, when we were closed and contracted, we see possibility and expansiveness and new ways of thinking. And so, especially as we age, and our brains get older and more rigid and set in our ways, it's kind of breaks those rigid patterns and keeps our minds really flexible and pliant and open to change. So that's how it works physically with the body.
So beautiful. Such a unique plant. So is it a plant? No, it's not a plant, is it? It's kind of a hybrid between fungi, right? And yeah.
Exactly. It's a fungi kingdom.
It's a fungi kingdom, exactly. So let's talk about who is this for now, because with my breath work, what I've learned very quickly is I stopped forcing people to come to my breathwork class and experience breathwork because, it has some really foundational, transformational results and experiences. And what I noticed was when I was almost begging people to try, you got to try it, and they're not ready for it. So now I stopped. I say, I tell them what I'm doing. And if they feel called, if somehow, breathwork comes into their frequency, then yes. So I feel like microdosing would be the same, because for those skeptics out there, you don't want to be convincing anyone about it. It's just more of who gets called to actually experience it. So you tell me, who is this microdosing for? Is it for everybody? You just mentioned something about when we get to old age. Is it more, I guess, beneficial than for the elderly? Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
You nailed it. I could not, I'm just like celebrating you. It is exactly the same. It's people come when they're almost summoned to it. And when you're summoned to it, it's people often say to me, like, I can't get away from it. Like I keep mushrooms, like I've seen mushrooms everywhere. I'm dreaming about them. So when it's time for you, I see that in my colleagues, we talk about that all the time, that people really come to it. And that's when it's most effective, is when you come to it on your own and your soul says, it's time for you to meet the medicine now. Absolutely. So you never want to be in a situation where you're feeling like you need to convince or you're forced into it. Even though it's so good for somebody else, it's always great to just experience it for yourself and let your natural magnetism and your own radiance and health. People are like, hey, what are you doing? And then that's how people come to it and find out. So absolutely. Mushrooms, I have found, are so broad. I mean, our community ranges from 19 years old to 93 years old.
Wow.
All backgrounds, 30 countries, people all over. So it's so healing in so many ways. And that's the magic of the magic mushroom, is that it has this unique intelligence that it kind of scans you and sees exactly what you need. So some people can have very profound physical healing. They might come from migraine headaches or concussion or TBI. And then other people have deep emotional healing happen, childhood trauma. So it really uniquely talks to people. It can be the same exact harvest, the same exact mushroom, but it's going to work with you completely uniquely.
So beautiful.
Old people, to your point, old people especially benefit by it, I think, just because they're older. It's an older mind. We're more set in our ways. We're more rigid, and we have that kanalistic thinking going, versus when we're young, we are pretty fluid and bendy and open-minded. Our brains are still developing into our 20s. And so I work with younger people too. And it's usually due to it's such a loud, harsh, challenging world they're growing up into, that it really helps their nervous system develop a resilience and strength to it, so that it's an antidote to this modern time.
I've never thought of that, actually, bringing it into the teenagers and the young adults. Yes. considering they have so much. I don't envy them at all. When people ask me, would you go back to your 20s? I'm like, hell no, not in this era. No way, maybe back in my era, in my time. But yes, and I've never thought of it that way. That is, I like that. And, being a nutritionist, we use adaptogens all the time, ashwagandha, reishi, like medicinal mushrooms, and they do the exact same thing, right? They really do scan your body and adapt to what it is that you want and need. Yeah, it's so fascinating in terms of the physical benefits. All right. The migraines, you said, the concussion, I would have never, again, even thought of doing it for that way, because I personally do it more for creativity and just like opening up myself up, and also to relax. My brain is constantly going, go, 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 like creating. And so I actually do it just to chill out. And in Mexico, there's this Mushroom Monday ceremony, actually, Kayse, happening every Monday. It's so cool. We microdose, we sit on the beach, there's sound healing, and I'm actually opening up the event with some breath work. So to help you, yeah, it's such a beautiful experience. And more people are into it, they're trying it. But what would you say to someone who's sort of, maybe listening, viewing, and they're like, okay, this sounds interesting. But again, maybe have grown up in the 80s or has that stigma, taboo around these psychedelics or plant medicines. What would you say to them? I know we don't want to force anyone and they're going to be called. What is something that you would maybe advise them to?
I get this one a lot. Yeah, I work with a lot of people who are so drawn to it. And they're like, I'm so curious and I've read all the things and I've watched all the things, but I can't be weird. They'll go, Kayse, I can't be weird ever. Like, I'm running a company. I have 4 kids. I need to be on my game all the time and I can't be weird ever. And so microdosing is perfect for them. Because I was that way. Because of my seizure disorder, I'm very sensitive. I grew up in the 80s, right? I had all the things. And that's why microdosing is so great for people like that, because it's subtle. You get to stay in the earth realm. You're not going anywhere. You have complete control. So that kind of grippy, worried part of our brain can relax. Like, I control this situation and this experience. And right away, within the first few days, people find that they not only are not out of control or out of it, they're better than they've ever been. So really, it's just a matter of starting it and connecting with the medicine and understanding in a felt sense what that relationship feels like is really all it takes to convince people this is very different than what I was worried it was going to be.
Right. And in terms of, let's talk a little bit more about microdosing itself. So there are some schools, I guess, because I've bought a few, say to do it for 3 days and then stop and then continue again, but just give yourself that time. Same with the medicinal mushrooms, by the way. Give yourself that time so that it doesn't get, what's the word? It's slipping my mind now. You become resistant to it? No, it's the opposite. It really adapts. So, and then there's some that say, take it every other day. So what's the right way of doing it? Is there a right way of doing it? Is it based on the actual mushroom itself?
That's a hot topic. We get asked that a lot. The protocols. What protocol do? I went online and there's this protocol and there's that protocol.
Right.
So I love to work with people to really design their own protocol and tap into their intuition. Because we're so used to tell me what to do. What's my prescription? Right. And it helps people get out of that mindset a little of like, I have a say, like, oh, it's a co-creative relationship.
Right. I like
and so some people are like, I really feel called to practice 5 days a week. And so sometimes people will do a 5-2 protocol. That's what I did for years. When I started out, I did 5 days on, 2 days off. Monday through Friday, I would dose and take the weekends off. And then I would take breaks throughout that time. So I would do, say, a cycle of a month or 6 weeks, and then take a break for a while, and then come back months later and do a different cycle for a different intention. Some people really thrive with an every other day cycle, and some people like it twice a day. Like, some people have done creative things, like they'll do half of their dose in the morning and half of their dose in the evening.
Oh, wow. There are many.
Well, for them, there are so many. Yes. The only thing I really recommend people, especially in the first 3 months of practice, is whatever you choose, be consistent with it. Because it's almost like a breathwork practice or a meditation practice. Like, once you do it in a consistent framework way for a while, it becomes part of you. And then you
Yeah.
don't need to do it every day. Like you don't, if you meditate every day for 90 days, like you almost don't need to meditate and sit on the cushion to get into that state.
Yes. Agree.
Microdosing is really similar.
Oh,
So
wow.
you just kind of, once you connect with the medicine, it's like you can stop microdosing and still be connected to the medicine.
Really? And so so they would go back. I like that how you said the intention. So they would go and maybe do it again with a different intention. Why is that? Why is that important? Because also in my breathwork practice, as before we start, we do movement, but we also set the intention. So why is it important with this medicine as well?
Beautiful question. It just gives a container for your practice, like the ritual, the practice. I think it taps back into, what this practice used to be in indigenous tradition and ancient tradition, where it was sacred. It was contained in a ritual and a practice, not just kind of popping a pill like we do today, I think.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
love weaving intention into the practice because it does make it special and kind of above and apart from, the secular world life.
Yeah.
It also gives people a point to work toward, which, the human mind often needs, right?
Mm.
And so I often tell people, like, come up with an intention of how you want to feel in your body, feel in your life, and then kind of leave it open. So set your intention, but hold it loosely of how you're going to get there. But because oftentimes spirit and the mushrooms like will deliver you things that you would have never in your wildest dreams thought would be possible. So it's not like I want to lose 10 pounds. It's like I want to feel light and bright and radiant in my body. And
Mm.
then let the mushrooms do their thing to get there. But
Guide you on that. Nice.
yeah. And people have so much healing. Oftentimes it happens really naturally. Like, for example, when my seizures stopped altogether, I paused microdosing and I was curious, like, are they going to come back when I stop microdosing? And I
Mhm.
realized they've never come back at all.
Mm.
Like, I've not even had an aura of a seizure since then. And so I realized the healing people experience, it's innate in them. The mushrooms just kind of tap into that
Yeah. Yeah.
and you heal. And then once you're healed, you're complete with that. So my intention might have been nervous system healing. But then when I came back, I'm like, okay, my nervous system has healed a great extent. Now I'm going to work on my creativity. Now I'm going to work on my spiritual connection. So
Right.
this is a practice that evolves with you as you evolve.
That's beautiful. I like that. I like that. It's so true. In terms of actually, do you know where I actually don't know this. I'm gonna ask you. I don't know if you know, where did it originate? Like where did we find these like the earliest signs of people doing this ritual or ceremonial? Do we know?
I love this question. It's actually tens of thousands of years ago. And they're finding more and more evidence all around the world,
Yeah, in different
across all
tribes. Right?
populations,
Isn't
different
that crazy?
tribes.
It's not crazy. Of course, it's not crazy because it's the intelligence of the mushroom. So, wow. So it's all over the world. Yeah.
Yes.
And they were using it ceremonial ritual for like anything really, creativity as a tribal ritual. Yeah, I love that. So in terms of mostly the listeners and viewers are midlife women. What would you recommend for a midlife woman, maybe a mother, maybe working mother or not, just like in this stage of transition herself, right? Maybe perimenopausal, maybe menopausal. What would you recommend for her? What sort of microdosing protocol? And I know that it depends and it's, using your intuition, but just sort of knowing that lifestyle. Is there one that would benefit more or better, or it really depends on her schedule?
I love this. And this is a lot of the people I work with because it's such a powerful time in a woman's life.
Mm.
Absolutely powerful. And we're in this moment, as we were sharing before we started our convo today. It's such an amazing time to
Mhm.
be a woman and to be in the healing fields right now because it's kind of a paradigm shift of how women age and the portal of perimenopause and menopause is shifting dramatically. And we're
Mhm.
seeing it kind of as a portal of power and
Mhm.
stepping into a greater wisdom, a greater intelligence, greater power versus this let's prevent aging at all
Yeah.
costs. and
Yes.
really work with it in a new way and embrace it in a new way. And so it's a really powerful time to partner with nature in this moment of our life, because we're experiencing all the symptoms that we're having are symptoms of transformation. And it's just, we have to look at them differently instead of like medicating them and numbing
Mm.
them,
Yes.
really stepping through them to access this greater
Mhm.
power that women hold within them. It's kind of unlocks the key to that. So it's deeply healing. So I've worked with lots of women around hormone disruption, with extremely difficult, challenging periods, PMDD. Just reconnecting yourself with nature just brings your body back to natural cycles of things. So women often like find they track with the moon, start tracking with the moon more
Mm.
naturally. Their pain lessens. The movement into old age puts them in touch with their body differently. And so their intuition lights up. And so they know,
Mm.
okay, I don't need antidepressants. I need estrogen, or I need an herb,
Yeah.
rather than a pharmaceutical. So it's deeply, deeply empowering, particularly for women going through that midlife portal.
I love that. Such a great companion and complementary medicine, right, to what they're currently doing. I love that. That's yeah. So I'm sure you're helping a lot of professionals in this field, helping women transition into this beautiful era part of our lives that a lot of times it's been seen as taboo. Speaking of the pharmaceuticals, what do you think is the future of mushrooms and psychedelics? Are a lot of them are getting into it anyway, I know, but do you trust them? I'm just like, I'm so skeptical, when they either merge or when they start doing psychedelic assisted therapy. I'm just like, they're probably not going to do it right, and so we're going to still need the pharmaceutical drug. What are your thoughts on that? What's the future? Is there a collaboration?
Great question. And this moment right now, it's very timely, this topic right now, because it's for a while, like for a long time, this modality was just kind of laughed at and dismissed and condescended to. And so we were just kind of like the weirdos off to the side and kind of ignored and overlooked, right? And I never kind of minded that, because there's an advantage to that, right? Like people had to seek it out. There was a protectedness to it. Now we're in this moment where big pharma and for-profit companies are like, oh, there's money to be made
Mm,
here,
mm,
right?
mhm.
And so now it's about the fear tropes and the gatekeeping and who's allowed to do this. And yeah, and so there's pros and cons to the medical model, trying to lay that over psychedelic and earth medicine and natural healing. The advantages are acceptance. A lot of people still
Mhm.
live in a, I
Yeah.
need someone in a white coat
Yeah.
telling me
I was
this
just gonna
works.
say that. Yes, exactly.
I need to see the
Mm,
research. Show me the research. And
mhm,
so I always encourage people, like, if that's what it takes for you to believe nature works, that's
mm,
great. That's great for some people, but it should be an and both. So I think people who want to receive their care through a clinical model,
mm,
do a journey, in a clinical with a doctor,
mhm,
certified academic, that's great. But there are other people who should be able to go on a retreat in Mexico
mhm,
and do mushrooms in a group with a
mhm.
ceremonialist who is a female medicine keeper who's been doing this work for 50 years. Like,
Right.
I think we should have lots of options so that different people have different touch points and ways in.
I love that. And it's true about the research. Yes, it's great, but who's funding that research, right? Or they stopped funding the natural medicine research. So of course there will be less research versus the pharmaceutical. So it's just, yeah, a lot of things that we need to take into consideration for sure. Tolerance is the word. That's the word I was looking for. A building tolerance. Yes, because sometimes I do feel so it's actually good to also switch, in my opinion, your provider too, just to kind of see. I'm sure there's different growing methods as well. And so I like to switch it up. And so that I don't build that tolerance. And it's the same with medicinal mushrooms as well, as to take a break. So whenever you feel called to. So are there any cases? Now, again, I'm just talking for being a devil's advocate, talking for those skeptics in there on here that things didn't go the way they were supposed to go. And why does that happen sometimes?
Great question. Yes. The most common why people quit, if anybody quits microdosing practice, it's usually for this reason. It's usually the mushrooms are working too well. And by that, I mean, people sometimes come to microdosing and they automatically think the mushrooms are going to make me feel great all the time. Right. And
like that Limitless movie, that pill, right?
Right, right. And I'm just going to be like in bliss state and in flow. No, it's what mushrooms bring you is truth. They bring truth. And so most people I work with, that's what they're here for. Like they are ready, really ready for it to do the soul work. But a lot of soul work is probing into our shadows, having those deep layers of healing come forth that we couldn't get through talk therapy or we couldn't get through other means. Yes. Like we needed the medicine to tap into these deeper layers of healing. And typically when it doesn't work, people have emotions that they've most repressed come up. So people, for example, who are nice all the time, spiritual all the time, I don't get cranky, I don't get irritable, and then they're like, oh, I'm really freaking angry. Yeah. And they're like, I don't think it's working for me. And it's actually working very well for them because it's all of this has been in the body. Mushrooms are just a mirror showing us what we haven't been able to feel yet. And so oftentimes if you just stay with it, it's just coming up for release. And sometimes it's grief and sometimes it's anger, but it always makes sense. Like when people are willing to stay with it and go, I never feel angry. That's why I'm feeling anger, is I'm such a people pleaser. I always put myself second. I'm always kind of going along. And so the medicine is showing me, what do I want? Like it's kind of lighting a little passion and fire in me to go, what is it I want? And so that's typically, in my experience, it's typically the mushrooms like never aren't working and they're never not doing anything. It's just, are we open to hearing what they're saying?
Yes. And doing the work.
And working with it.
And doing the work after as well. So I imagine the integration is just as important as the actual microdosing too, right? In terms of how you integrate the experience, even if it's microdosing, those subtle messages and insights that you get. So in terms of professionals that you work with in your mastermind for healing hearts, artists, I think that's healing hearts. I like that too. Yeah, that's really impressive how you're doing this as well. So who is it mostly? Is it women's health? Where is there, or are they like across the board in terms of?
It's so eclectic. It's so eclectic. And that's the beauty of microdosing. So I have, in my experience, microdosing and mushroom practice in particular is a very relational medicine. It works with us with relationship to self, relationship to other, and relationship to our lifestyle practices. So it's ideal. Like it loves being in the hands of healers and therapists and coaches and guides to. So we have breathwork professionals, for example, who do breathwork as their primary work, but they're weaving microdosing work into the breathwork, and it just takes it to a whole new level. So body workers, therapists, guides, medical doctors.
So you would teach us how to integrate it, so I'm interested myself now.
Yeah, and it just naturally catalyzes the experiences they would be having anyway.
Yes,
with your modality, but it just kind of brings it together and integrates it in a new way and amplifies all of the results in a really beautiful way. So it's really, everybody's backgrounds are very diverse and eclectic, but that's exactly as nature would have it.
So true.
Stronger, the more diverse we are. So oftentimes people are like, what should I do to prepare for this field? Should I go be a therapist first and learn how to do talk therapy? And it's like, no, you do what you're here to do. And then the medicine complements that, not the other way around.
Right. Yes. So in terms of like a typical breathwork session, this would happen before, I would assume, or even because I do breathwork integration coaching, even after the full experience, the breathwork experience, I help clients sort of break down, what did all of that mean? Why did this person pop up? Why did you have this vision or this insight? So I can also see it working during the breathwork integration coaching process where they do the microdose and then we have the conversation. Endless, super creative in terms of how it can be applied and used. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. So where's the future going? What do you think? What's in store for us when it comes to microdosing?
Ooh, I love this question and imagining.
Yeah.
I mean, in my dream of dreams, I would love to see it in the hands of the healers, the coaches, the guides, the therapists, and not strictly in a pharmaceutical prescription form. I
Yeah.
think we're doing it such a disservice and selling it so short when we just put it in the file of mental health and symptom management. It's so much bigger than that. And so I really love kind of this grassroots mycelial movement that's happening where it's healers of all kinds of diverse backgrounds and also citizen healers. That's the other thing. Like I have so many people who were management consultants or corporate managers or beekeepers or comedians who get called to microdosing and they're like, I think I want to support other people doing this. Like, is that crazy of me? And I'm like, no, I think it's a time where we need to bring healing and spirituality into our everyday lives and not just rely on the doctors, for our healing anymore. So
and that's how it used to be, right? So it's kind of making a full circle. Yeah. We're all sort of educating ourselves and helping the tribe, helping the community around us, which is really cool. Can you actually make a distinction between, is there one? Do you find when it comes to microdosing a pharmaceutical, because that's just an extraction and it's made in a lab, right? Of the real thing from Mother Earth, which has so many, it's a lot more intricate. And that's why they can really just take one component of, so is there a difference? You find
huge, massive difference. I feel like where we've really kind of gone off the rails with the pharmaceutical industry is the pharmaceutical drugs so often were meant to be an intervention, like a short-term intervention when people are so overcome and can't function in life, to just kind of give them a hand and a boost to kind of get to the other side of that. Instead, they have become, because of they make so much money from them, it behooves the pharmaceutical companies to keep people sick and put nonstop commercials on TV,
right?
That continue to impress this upon. And so there's so much money to be made. I think we took what was intended to be a short-term intervention and made it a life sentence of, oh, you are a depressed person. Oh, you have ADHD. You need this for the rest of your life, when that's not actually the case. With natural medicines, instead of when people have symptoms, it's spirit talking to you. It's your body talking to you. And it's an opportunity to go, this is coming up now for a reason. It's usually because you're safe enough to heal. Let's get underneath the symptom of what's going on instead of being so quick to medicate for it and numb it. Let's work with that underlying. And that's where natural medicines help us surface these things and connect the dots and go, wow, okay, this is helping me heal. And that way we can move beyond this experience and this challenge we're having. And every time we do that, we get stronger and stronger at it. It's like building a muscle of resilience. That, okay, man, that was really a tough breakup.
Yeah.
Or that loss, my dog like really took me down to my knees, but I'm stronger for it. Like I am stronger now going forward. And with every time you move through that, we're not allowing people to do that anymore with the pharmaceutical model.
I love that distinction. It's really insightful. So do you find, because I know this from medicinal mushrooms and the chaga mushrooms, let's say, when it got really popular, huge, and there were concerns that, oh my gosh, nature will not keep up with our consumption. Do you find the same with the microdosing and the psychedelic?
Thankfully, I mean, definitely true for other psychedelic medicines, absolutely. But mushrooms are so prolific. We teach people how to cultivate in our course program, and it's a bit of a learning curve, but oftentimes once people get the hang of it, they have so many mushrooms they don't know what to do with them. That becomes the problem. So mushrooms are so self-sustaining, and the problem for some of the mushrooms aren't so much that the mushrooms can't populate themselves, it's we're destroying the forest where they live. And so a lot of the old redwood forests in the Pacific Northwest that are home to countless species of fungi with medicinal purposes that we haven't even discovered yet, we're destroying their home and destroying the species. They're going extinct because we're destroying their habitat.
Right. So that's something to watch out for versus, yes, the shortage of them. Yes, I agree. I agree. So is there a common advice that you tend to give your clients or maybe even some of your health professionals? Is there, I'm just curious when it comes to microdosing.
Definitely, definitely. The pharmaceutical mindset is one that takes oftentimes we talk about a lot because we're so conditioned, especially in the US, to have instant results, right? We take it and we're like, I took it 3 hours ago and I'm not healed. And it's funny, like sometimes I still catch myself. I've been in the field for decades and I still am like, this is taking a really long time to work through this thing. And so again, like to get ourselves out of our human time where we're so pressuring and we want everything done in 30 days or less, everything's a challenge, right? So getting people to slow down and really getting people to work with the medicine as a relationship and a co-creative process
Love
versus a
it.
passive. So I would say that's the advice that comes up most frequently when people are starting.
And it also depends on your intention and how ready you are and what state you're in to receive and be open to it. So, yes, I love it. Definitely be patient and start slow. Okay, so what is the best advice that you've ever been given that still holds true today? Is there one?
So many things, so many things. I've had so many amazing teachers and coaches and mentors in my life. I think one of my coaches in high school said, let people underestimate you. It's very freeing.
That's true.
And at first I chafed with that. And I think as a woman, especially as a woman, as a healer, as an entrepreneur or a founder or a business person, I think so many women, especially those of us, have been around for a while and grew up with mothers who didn't have the same opportunities we had. We have really tried to prove ourselves in life, right? And we expend a lot of energy toward proving ourselves to other people and our worth to other people. I really, really watched him as a young teen, and he, I remember going to track meets, and he was a farmer when he wasn't coaching. He was a farmer, and he would always be wearing his farmer outfit, and all the other track coaches would be like geared up at their fancy glasses on and their matching outfits, and he always kind of looked like he had no idea what he was doing and very out of place and easy to underestimate. But he was one of the most amazing. I think he wound up being the most winning high school track coach in the entire United States by the time he
Wow.
retired. Was just, yeah, we would just blow. He just had this gift for it, but he did not care to look the part. Like, just show people what you can do. And I think as a young girl at the time, to hear that advice at that time, to really just focus on what you're creating for the world, who you're doing it for. Don't care about proving yourself because it actually saves a lot of attention and energy trying to prove yourself, and you can put that into creation instead.
Wow. Wow, Kayse, I so needed to hear this. So thank you for me, for my heart and your coach. Thank you. Yes, I like that. I love that piece of advice. I really do. So what if there is one, because this is a tough question too, is there an influential book that you would like to recommend to our readers and viewers?
Oh gosh. So I have two. I have two. So probably the book that I have bought for more people and more clients than any book ever. I don't know how many times I've bought this book. Is a book called Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton. He was a clinical cognitive behavioral therapist, hypnotherapist, quit smoking, lose weight, not woo at all. He's since passed away, but he had a client that kept tripping into a past life when he worked with them. And so he then switched gears and moved into regression therapy and the life between lives, reincarnation, and how we connect to those lives in the past. And then when I came across this book, I was probably in my early 20s. I had the opportunity to meet him in my 20s and train with him. And that book was so meaningful to me as someone who's had a parent that I lost young. I had been looking into for a conceptual frame inside that I wasn't getting from conventional religious thought. And that book, especially for people, I work with a lot of people with grief and loss. And so that book is deeply meaningful. And the fact that it's written by someone who was so skeptical, scientific, to kind of have this other world, the spiritual world, open to people in this moment where we're so scientifically focused is really, really deeply meaningful. People on their healing path of always. The other book that was so meaningful, and it's an odd one, but it's so true. When I was a little kid, probably 4 or 5, there was a book called Watership Down. And it was also a film, and it's about bunnies of all things. But it's essentially like the hero's journey, but in the animal kingdom. And it's such a beautiful lesson about trusting and having faith in something, even though you can't see it yet, and trusting that intuition and kind of setting that intention and then living your way into it. And as a kid, I read that book hundreds of times. I watched it. My poor mom. But now looking back, I see that is the healing journey for people.
Yeah.
That is the spiritual journey for people. And so I think that's why it was imprinted so heavily upon me. It was just kind of like winking at me going, this is the work you're going to do one day.
And with the help of the magic mushrooms.
Yes, exactly.
So awesome. Thank you. Definitely will check these books out. And another message that I really needed to hear today. So thank you. So what are your top 3 non-negotiable self-care habits?
Oh, that's a great question. My top one is sleep. Sleep is so underestimated, and the power of sleep. Like a lot of times when people start microdosing, they are like, God, I'm taking naps. I've never taken naps. And I'm dreaming for the first time in years. I haven't been able to access my dreams. And people don't think of sleep as healing because we're not working at it. Right.
Right.
And a lot of our healing happens in our sleep. And so sleep is so foundational to self-care.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's one of my pillars, and I call it sacred sleep. It's so sacred.
Thank you. Yeah. My other top 2 would be movement, like movement every day of some kind. And with our microdosing work, like pairing it with whatever's calling you. And it's so fun to see what calls to people. Like some people dance. They're like, God, I haven't danced in years. And I forgot how much I loved like going to the club. And I'm like 60 now, and like I can't go to the club, but I can still dance. And so people start dancing, or they get into martial arts, qigong. A lot of people get into percussion and drumming and just moving the energy and thinking not of exercise and working out necessarily, but just like working with your energy every day is a beautiful self-care practice. And then my other one is touch. I mean, touch my whole life, touch and affection, like physical touch people don't often think of that as self-care, but it's so foundational. You know, it just gives your body vitality. So whether you have kids or you have a partner, and even if you don't, like having a pet and just loving on animals, I think that's a really, really, we underestimate like what we give other people, we're also receiving at the same time.
Yes. So hug as much as possible. Who is accepting of your hugs? What is your legacy? What do you want to be known for?
Ooh, that's a big question. That's a juicy question. I think, I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of people over my career at this point. And I think if I could have one legacy, it would be simply a whole lot of people could say, I ran into this chick and my life got significantly better pretty soon thereafter. Right? That to me is like what we do and why we do it. So to watch people transform over time and really step into a greater sense of themselves, a greater experience of life than they thought was possible.
Yes, so resonating with the work that I do too. So incredibly blessed and grateful every day that I get to do this work and get to see these transformations instantaneously with the breath work. So I'm sure it's a very similar story with you. So where can people connect with you if they're interested in learning more, if they're health professionals learning to or wanting to join your mastermind? And I think you also have a freebie. So thank you for that. If you want to just mention that.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
It's been so fun. You have great, great energy. And just, yeah, thank you so much for having me. And thank you, everybody, for listening. So, all the things are at Microdosing for Healing. So, like you said, we have a great 80-minute workshop I created for so many beginners are like, I want to do this. I have no idea where to start. So, that workshop is free, downloadable on our website. You can grab that anytime. And then all of the information about our immersion programs. We also have a global community of people from 30 countries that's really accessible if people just kind of want to dip their toe in and learn and kind of see what this looks like real time. That's really easy to join anytime. We have a podcast. And then, yes, like you said, a professional program for people who might not want to become a professional mushroom guide, but they're like, I want to incorporate this into my current offerings in a very knowledgeable way. So all of that lives on our website.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for this enlightening conversation about these beautiful, magical catalysts, that could really complement your healing journey. So I really do encourage, if you feel called to, really, I'm going to do this myself as well, this 80-minute video, freebie that Kayse's offering us, and maybe even explore further in what the work that she's doing. So I really do encourage, if you're getting the urge to research, because then yes, the magic mushroom will speak to you as well. Well, thank you so much. It's been really, really enlightening. Thank you for your beautiful energy as well. And good luck with everything. And I cannot wait to get in touch and stay in touch. Thank you, and super grateful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self-Care Goddess podcast. If today's episode inspired you, share it with another woman who's ready to reclaim her vitality and lead from within. To continue your journey, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me on ritasavoya.com. Until next time, remember, self-care isn't selfish, it's your superpower. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and keep rising. Ciao for now.